Hey guys, in this video I just wanted to take a quick break from actual syllabus content and discuss how I personally got an A star in IGCSE biology. And here's the steps that I followed, and I've used these steps not only to study IGCSE biology but all sciences for that matter, and I've achieved a really high grade for all of them, so I know that it works. So possibly if you were to implement these tactics into your own study plan, then you will be able to get an A star, an A plus grade too. So first of all, at the time, the syllabus was my Bible, and metaphorically speaking, I'm just saying that it's that important, okay? It tells you what you need to study and what you don't need to study. And so you should always be using the syllabus as a guide or a reference point when you are revising for your exams. Second of all, I understood the concepts first. So people make the mistake of trying to memorize stuff before they even understand it. Now that's not good. You should always try to understand it first, and then memorization becomes much more easier. So of course, understand the concepts, and you can do so by perhaps just reading the textbook. And if sometimes you don't get what the textbook is saying, you can always go watch YouTube videos, or perhaps just Google search it and see what comes up. Whatever it takes for you to understand the concepts before anything else. And thirdly, once you think you've understood that, it's time for memorization. Now I've emphasized the word majority here. So the reason I emphasize that is because sometimes people make the mistake of kind of wanting to memorize every single little detail about everything. Okay, now that's not that's not possible. Okay, we can't memorize everything. We can't memorize 100%. And so if you think that you are, you've got memory gaps, or you've got gaps of information, that's okay. Okay, so don't try to waste your time by kind of constantly fill in the gaps of your information that is missing in your brain, because sometimes you study something and then you might take a nap, wake up the next day, and then it's gone already. Okay, and things like that do happen, so that's okay. That's why I'm saying, if you think you've got the majority covered, then you're fine, you're good to go. Okay, now you can use your time more wisely after this by doing past papers, which is the most crucial, most important step of getting an A plus grade in Cambridge papers, okay, or exams. Now it's important for you to understand how to use past papers as well. It's not just about kind of solving, a couple of those, a couple of questions from different past papers and think you're done. You're not. Okay, this is where everything kind of comes in, and this is where your understanding and your memorized topics, everything just comes together and forms a really solid bulk in your brain. And this is why you need to do past papers. Not some of it, all of it as well. So here we go. How I use past papers was, first of all, before the exam, I left 4 weeks, okay, just to do past papers. And it helps even more if you've been doing past papers throughout the year, but if you haven't, that's okay. But anyways, I gave it 4 weeks, okay, just to concentrate on doing past papers. I've physically printed every single past paper that I could find, and the reason why I did this is because writing on the actual sheet is so much more helpful than kind of like looking at the questions on the screen and writing it down on refill and etc. It's just when you do it on the actual exam sheet, it just feels much better because it kind of replicates what it will be like in your actual exam, and and of course you reduce the likelihood of kind of like losing your refill pad if you were to do it on the screen kind of thing. So I suggest printing it physically because it's definitely more helpful. And for every single past paper I did, I treated it like an actual exam, but with tighter time constraints. And that's just to kind of prepare yourself for your exam, So if you kind of train yourself to do an hour exam in an hour, if you somehow mess up with the time, then you might end up not finishing your exam on time. So you should train yourself to complete your exam at least 10 to 15 minutes earlier, just in case something comes up and you you stuff up on one question or something, that you don't lose too much time, and even if you do, you'll kind of still finish on time, okay, rather than have like 2 questions left in the exam and not be able to attempt it because of time constraints. So yeah, train yourself to do the exam faster. So for example, I would try to get an hour long exam done within 45 minutes. Okay. Now, also for every paper, I would mark it comprehensively, okay, after finishing it. So what I mean by that is, for the parts that I've lost marks in, I would write down the correct answers, and I'd do it in another colored pen just to make it stand out. For example, I'd do the exam in like like blue, and the markings would be in red. For the parts that I didn't lose any marks, but there are more possible answers that I could have written, then I would also write that down as well. And for the questions that I had to totally guess because I couldn't even attempt it because I didn't know, then I would write down what the marking scheme said, just to get a feel about what the type of answers they wanted, and then I'd go and quickly revise that topic using my notes or textbooks or whatever. Okay. And I would do this for every single past paper until I'd finished the whole lot. Okay, so I'd kind of go from like 2002 to whatever recent paper there was, and all the different variants, and I'd do that for everything. And I would hope to finish all the past papers within 3 weeks of the 4 weeks I've left for past papers, so that I can use that last week just to go through the past papers I've done. And by then you'll kind of know that if you have any remaining gaps in your knowledge, you know what to focus on. And yeah, and that's how I would spend my last week, and I would do the exam and it would turn out good. So in the end, it really just comes down to discipline. If you can't get yourself to solve these past papers and can't get yourself to put in a little work, then definitely you're not going to get a 90% grade, because it does require effort, and this is the type of effort that I'm saying. And past papers really isn't too difficult to do. It's much more fun and practical than sitting down and memorizing your textbook. So I think it's a fun way to study, and the most effective way to study for your papers in Cambridge. So by effectively disciplining myself to make use of these past papers, I've got a 90+ for all my sciences, from IGCSE to AS to A2, and across all the sciences. And it was definitely hard work, but worth it in the end. Thank you.